Welcome students to another lecture of botany. Here in today's class we will study another group of kingdom Monera, that is Eubacteria. Another group of kingdom Monera, that is Eubacteria. In the previous classes we have studied about Archibacteria. Kingdom Monera is further divided into many subgroups, that is many groups. The first we studied was Archibacteria. Now in today's class we will study about another group, that is Eubacteria. The word Eubacteria here, in Eubacteria the word Eu means true. The word Eu means true. So these are called as true bacteria. These are called as true bacteria. Why they are called as true bacteria? Because these bacteria, they show the exact characteristics what are present in the prokaryotic organisms. In prokaryotic organisms. In Archibacteria, those bacteria are said to be ancient bacteria. They survive in very extreme environmental conditions. Not all bacteria can survive in that extreme environmental conditions. Very few can survive, so those few are placed under Archibacteria and those are the ancient bacteria. These now here Eubacteria are the true bacteria. They are even called as modern bacteria. Here these bacteria, they cannot survive in very extreme conditions. They can survive in normal conditions. So it has all the characteristics, that is this type of bacteria shows all the characteristics or all the things which are present in a prokaryotic cell. Here these are called as a true bacteria and they have rigid cell wall. These bacteria also have rigid cell wall. Like Archibacteria, they were also having rigid cell wall. This Archibacteria cell wall was very strong when compared to this Eubacteria. They also have rigid, but that is this rigidity or the strength is not as that of Eubacteria. So they are a little less in strength. So they also have rigid cell wall, and here in few organisms, few bacteria consist of bacteria. Few bacteria consist of flagella. Flagella is a structure which helps in movement. Flagella is a structure which helps in movement of bacteria. So few bacteria shows flagella. It can be bacteria can have one flagella or more than one flagella. But the function of flagella is it helps in the movement of the bacteria from one place to another place, or from unfavorable conditions to favorable conditions. So it helps in, basically this flagella helps in movement. And now coming next to this habitat, where do we find this type of bacteria? These type of bacteria are present everywhere. Archibacteria was present in extreme environmental conditions, that is in hot springs, high salt places where they have high salt content, in the marshy areas, in very cold places. So they were surviving in those conditions. These bacteria, they cannot survive in the extreme conditions, but they are present in this everywhere in normal surroundings. In normal, where the environmental conditions are normal, not extreme. So where environmental conditions are normal, we can find bacteria there. Everywhere, including bodies of living organisms. These bacteria can also be found in the bodies of plants, animals and human beings. Next is what type of nutrition they take. Here bacteria, the Eubacteria are again shows autotrophic nutrition as well as heterotrophic nutrition. Eubacteria shows autotrophic as well as heterotrophic nutrition. In autotrophic nutrition, again the autotrophic nutrition or the autotrophic bacteria are again divided into two categories. One is photoautotrophs and the another is Chemotrophic. Autotrophic bacteria, that is the bacteria which can prepare their own food. So the bacteria which can prepare their own food are still further divided into two categories, that is photoautotrophic bacteria and chemoautotrophic bacteria. Photoautotrophic bacteria, we all know photo, that is the bacteria which prepares their own food with the help of sunlight. The bacteria which prepares their own food with the help of sunlight. They will be having pigment, chlorophyll. They will be having a pigment called as chlorophyll. So with the help of this chlorophyll and sunlight and the carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, they perform a process called as photosynthesis and prepare their own food. So such bacteria which takes sunlight as the source and produce their own food, those are called as photoautotrophic bacteria. Example of the Eubacteria which shows photoautotrophic nutrition is, we have the Cyanobacteria. Cyanobacteria, it is a photoautotrophic bacteria. So the word cyano, in this cyano means, the word cyano means blue. We can even, that is another name of the cyanobacteria is blue-green bacteria. Here the word cyano is blue, and why green? Because it consists of pigment chlorophyll. It has pigment chlorophyll and perform the process of photosynthesis. Next is chemoautotrophic bacteria. Chemoautotrophic bacteria. So the bacteria which takes chemicals. The bacteria which take chemical as the source and produce their food material. So such type of bacteria are called as chemoautotrophic bacteria. And heterotrophic bacteria are again divided into two categories. Saprophytic, which depends on dead matter. Dead decayed organic matter. And some are parasites. That is, they lives in the bodies of the living organisms and causes diseases. They lives in the bodies of living organisms and causes diseases. So example of that bacteria, the heterotrophic parasitic bacteria is Salmonella typhi. Salmonella typhi is a type of bacteria which causes disease called typhoid. In human beings. Here Clostridium tetani is another example of parasitic Eubacteria which causes tetanus, disease tetanus. Mycobacterium tuberculosis, it causes a disease called as tuberculosis. Vibrio cholera, it also causes a disease called as cholera. So if we summarize it, Eubacteria are the true bacteria which shows the exact characteristics of the prokaryotic cell. The cell wall is rigid, flagella is present which helps in movement of this bacteria from one place to another place here, and habitat they are found everywhere. They can be found everywhere in the normal environmental conditions. So here now the mode of nutrition, how they procure food. They procure food by two, that is either by, some of them are autotrophic and some of them are heterotrophic. In autotrophic also we have photoautotrophic and chemoautotrophic. Photoautotrophic which take light and prepare their own food. Chemoautotrophic which takes chemicals and prepare their own food. And in heterotrophic bacteria, this heterotrophic Eubacteria is again divided into saprophytes. That is, they feed on the dead and decayed matter. Example, Bacillus is there, Pseudomonas is there. And here, next is parasites. Not Bacillus, here, Pseudomonas. Parasites, we have different types of parasitic Eubacteria which causes different diseases in living organisms. And this Eubacteria are found in different shapes, 4 different shapes. That is, it can be, the Eubacteria can be of round shape, focus is round shape, spherical shape. It can also be found in rod shape or cylindrical shape. It can also be found in comma shape. It can also be found in comma shape, and it can be found in spiral shape. The Eubacteria can be found in 4 different shapes. It can be spherical, it can be rod or cylindrical shape, it can be comma shape, or it can be spiral shape. The spherical shape Eubacteria is called as coccus. Rod shape Eubacteria is called as bacillus. Comma shape Eubacteria is called as Vibrio. Spiral shape Eubacteria is called as Spirulum. And structure, here coming to the structure of this Eubacteria, it is a, if we see this, we'll take this common example of this rod shape. If we draw this, so this is the plasma membrane, and they have the cell wall, which is made up of peptidoglycan. They have cell wall, which is made up of peptidoglycan. Then they have mesosomes, that is the infoldings of plasma membrane. Plasma membrane shows some infoldings. So these infoldings are called as mesosomes, which helps in respiration. The cell wall gives protection. And we have ribosomes. Small granular particles will be there inside the cytoplasm. That is ribosomes. Ribosomes will be present, and genetic material, naked genetic material will be present. So this is the genetic material. This is genetic material. So this genetic material is not covered in any envelope or membrane. The genetic material is not covered. It is not covered in a membrane like this. It is just naked without any membrane. So that is why we call it as naked genetic material. Naked, that is without envelope. Genetic material without envelope or membrane. Then we can even find this flagella. One or more flagella will be present. So this is the structure of the Eubacteria, that is prokaryotic cell. This is the structure of the prokaryotic cell. It consists of cell wall, rigid cell wall, which is made up of peptidoglycan. It also has, that is the plasma membrane, has infoldings. Those are called as mesosomes. This helps in respiration as well as cell division. Then we have small granular particles, that is ribosomes, and those ribosomes are 70S. According to Smedberg's unit, the ribosomes in prokaryotic cell are 70S ribosomes. Then genetic material we have, it can be the DNA. Genetic material we have. Then flagellum cannot be present. In motile bacteria, flagellum will be present. So this was about the characteristics of this Eubacteria, shapes in which Eubacteria is present, structure of this Eubacteria, then where these Eubacteria are found, then what type of nutrition they take, and reproduction. In reproduction, they reproduce by asexual reproduction. They produce by asexual reproduction, that is binary fission. And sometimes they also reproduce by asexual method. But most common method of reproduction in bacteria is asexual reproduction, that is by binary fission. So now we have studied about this Archaebacteria as well as the Eubacteria. Now coming to the Cyanobacteria. Cyanobacteria, we already said these are the blue-green bacteria. bacteria. These are also called as blue-green bacteria. They are first photosynthetic in nature. They enrich because when they perform photosynthesis now, during the process of photosynthesis, oxygen will be released. Oxygen will be released. So that is why these cyanobacteria enrich environment, gives the environment oxygen. It provides the surrounding or atmosphere with oxygen. So that is why they are called as oxygen enriching bacteria. Cyanobacteria are also called as oxygen enriching bacteria. So in cyanobacteria, here the protoplasm is divided into two parts. The center part is colorless. Colorless. Center part is colorless, which is called as centroplasm. Centroplasm. The central liquid is colorless, which is called as centroplasm, and this peripheral liquid in the peripheral region, this is pigmented. That is, it consists of pigments which gives color. So that pigmented one is called as chromoplasm. This pigmented is called as chromoplasm. And these have a special, they live in colonies. The cyanobacteria, they also live in colonies. They have special structure, a special cell called as heterocyst. They have a special cell called as heterocyst. They live in colonies. They live in colonies. They have one special cell called as heterocyst. This heterocyst helps in nitrogen fixation. Heterocyst helps in nitrogen fixation. So this was about Eubacteria. Now coming to another group of this Monera, that is Mycoplasma. Mycoplasma. This mycoplasma, the organisms which are included under the mycoplasma, that is, these are the smallest living cells, that is smallest bacteria. These are the smallest living cells, and they are also called as PPLOs, that is pneumonia like organisms. These are the smallest living cells or smallest living bacteria. They are also called as PPLOs, that is pneumonia like organisms. They does not have cell wall. They does not have cell wall. The speciality of this is they does not have cell wall, and because of this absence of cell wall, they show a property called as pleomorphism. That is, they can change into different shapes. Because of the absence of cell wall, these cells can show different shapes. So that is that property or the phenomenon in which the bacteria can be found in different shapes. Bacteria can change into different shapes. That phenomenon is called as pleomorphism. And this pleomorphism is because of the absence of cell wall. In mycoplasma, the smallest living organisms, and they does not have cell wall. These mycoplasmas are parasitic in nature. That is, they live in the bodies of living organisms. Mycoplasmas live in the bodies of living organisms. That is, it can live in the plants, animals and human beings and causes disease to them. They live inside the body, these mycoplasmal cells. They live inside the bodies of the living organisms and they cause diseases in them. In man, they are found in respiratory and urinogenital tract. Respiratory tract and urinogenital tract. And in humans, they live in this tract, that is in respiratory and urinogenital tract, and causes disease called as mycoplasmal urethritis. They cause a disease called as mycoplasmal urethritis in man. And in plants, it causes a disease called as witch's brew. This mycoplasma, if they live in humans, it causes the disease mycoplasmal urethritis. If they live in plants they cause a disease called as pneumonia in cattle. They cause a disease called as pneumonia in cattle. So another one, that is Microplasma. These are the smallest living cells. They does not have cell wall. They are parasitic in nature. That is, they live in the bodies of living organisms and causes diseases. In man, Mycoplasma erythritis. In plants, witch's brew. And in animals, it causes pneumonia, that is in cattle. And the last one, Actinomycetes. This is the last group in Monera, kingdom Monera. Actinomycetes. Now here, these organisms also consist of cell wall, and that cell wall is made up of mycolic acid. That cell wall is made up of mycolic acid. These are also branched. That is the microorganisms of Actinomycetes group. Here they are also branched, and when they are under the sun, they radiate. When they are under sun, they will be radiating. So their cell wall consists of mycolic acid, and they are saprophytic, in nature, as well as parasitic. That is, they feed on the dead materials, as well as they act as parasites. That is, they live in the bodies of living organisms and causes diseases. Example of them is this Mycobacterium, Corynebacterium. These are the species which causes diseases. And this Actinomycetes species, especially the Streptomyces species. The Streptomyces species of Actinomycetes, they help in the production of antibiotics. Streptomyces species helps in the production of antibiotics. So this was all about kingdom Monera. In kingdom Monera, we have 4 different groups, that is Archaebacteria, ancient living bacteria. Then we have studied about Eubacteria. Then we have another group, that is Mycoplasma. And last is Actinomycetes. So all of these groups consist of bacteria. So kingdom Monera is also called as bacterial kingdom. So with this we have finished the kingdom Monera. In the next class, we'll start with another kingdom, that is Protista.